Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our virtual training series presentation, Unlocking the Wyoming Unemployment Insurance Portal, Insider Tips for Access, Filing, and Amendments. I am Tricia Mansfield, the Senior PR Specialist for the Department of Workforce Services. The topics of these presentations are driven by your feedback from our customer service surveys. Our free monthly virtual trainings cover key topics tailored to your needs. Be sure to visit our website, dws.wyo.gov/VTS for upcoming events and past sessions. A member of my team will be putting that link in the chat as well. Really quick, we just have a few housekeeping tips. Today's presentation will be recorded and posted to our website following this event along with the slides. If you have questions, please feel free to use the Q&A and the chat feature, and we'll try to get all your questions answered. And finally, your feedback helps us improve. So we're going to be putting a link in the chat for a survey. If you could please take a moment to complete that survey, it will also be shared again at the end of the presentation. Your input ensures that we continue to provide valuable presentations. So please be sure to take a few minutes to complete that at the end of this presentation. All right, let's get started. I'm excited to introduce our Unemployment Tax Division experts, Tony Crouch and Steve Grinder. They are going to discuss crucial unemployment insurance registration and reporting insights. So we're going to begin with Tony on the WYUI initial registration process. Take it away, Tony.
Hey, Tony, turn on your mute, or you're on mute.
Can you hear me now? All right. Hi, I'm Tony Crouch. I'm the registration supervisor. I've been with the Unemployment Tax Division for the last 10 years, and I was going to talk to you about the joint business registration and how you go about registering for unemployment for the state of Wyoming. It's called the joint business registration because it also goes to workers' comp, but beyond that, both agencies work it independent of one another. The first thing that you're going to do when you go to begin your registration process, you're going to key in your contact information for who we need to talk to if we have any questions, and then next screen. After that, you'll begin setting up a user ID and password for your company, for your contact. This will be your user ID and password for the entire time you have an account. So even if the person that sets this up leaves the company, this will still be your user ID. It's your admin ID forever. Some of the important things to note about this is when you set up your security questions, one of the tips we'd give you is make sure you write down your answers to your questions, because for example, if you selected what was your favorite color and you selected blue today and you capitalized the B, and then 3 months from now you're trying to use these security questions and you don't capitalize the B, it won't consider it a valid answer, even though technically it is, because it has to be exactly what you entered. Next. Then you transition into telling us some basics about your company, like your FEIN number that you get from the IRS, as well as your entity type. One of the key parts to this part of the process is if the FEIN that you provide already exists in our system and the account that exists in our system has been open within the last 8 quarters, it won't allow you to re-register again, and it'll ask you to call the division and find out what's going on, and we'll help you to get reopened if that's what you're needing. Otherwise, if it warns you that there's a pending registration, that may mean that someone else in your company has already submitted it on your behalf. Next screen. Then you start transitioning into information about the company, such as your company name, have you hired employees, yes or no, and then a lot of the questions in this section kind of feed off of each other. So for example, if you answer that you have had payroll, then it's going to ask you, what type of work are you in? Are you in agricultural work? Are you domestic work? You're just a regular employer? Those types of things, yes or no. And then any of these questions on this screen that have sub-questions in A, B, that kind of stuff, if you answer yes to the question, it's going to expect you to answer the sub-question. If you answer no, then do not answer the sub questions, because if you answer them, then it'll give you an error and it won't let you continue. Next screen, please. Then this is just the more of that same screen where it's asking you just general information about your business. It also will ask you if you're a corporation, for example, what state are you registered with the Secretary of State's office? You'll disclose that to us, the effective date of that. If you're active, it'll also ask you if you're a 501c3, a nonprofit, because some of these variables play a role in what direction we go with processing your registration. Next, please. Then it just transitions into the physical address of where your employees will actually be working in Wyoming. And you have to give, it'll give you some error messages if you do not give us an actual address in Wyoming. The reason for that is that you're supposed to be able to provide an address where your employees are working somewhere in Wyoming. Otherwise, the thought is, why are you registering if you're wanting to give an out-of-state address? Another warning that it'll give you is if you try to give us a registered agent address, we won't allow that because we're trying to find out where your employees are actually working. It's intended to prevent fraud, someone trying to say that they have people working in Wyoming, but they really don't. And then another tip on this screen would be the number 4 there, where you can type in whatever you'd like. That's where you can type whatever you'd like to describe the nature of work that you'll be performing in Wyoming. And then number 5 is a drop-down menu where you could find whether you're a hair salon or you're a financial advisor, anything like that. But there's a lot of options on that screen on the drop-down menu. So we find that if you're just having trouble and you can't find what it is that you're doing, just go ahead and select unclassified on all the options on number 5, and then you can type whatever you want in number 4, and then they can utilize that to get you correctly classified. Next, please. And then it just kind of gives you a summary of what you'd entered on the prior screen. If it looks good, you hit next. Next, please. Then you transition into your mailing address, as well as, depending on how large your organization is, if it's applicable. Some companies are multi-states and they might want information about unemployment to go to one state and maybe information about workers' comp to go to a totally different office in another state. So on this screen, it gives you those different options if you so choose, or it does give you the option, if it's the same for every section, you can just put same as unemployment tax mailing address, and you don't have to refill in the information over and over. Next, please. And on that same screen, it also addresses your company contact. So if you have a specific person you'd like us to contact, you can differentiate between workers' comp and unemployment, but if it's the same, you can put the same person for both options. Next, please. And then once again, it just kind of gives you a summary of what you keyed in on the prior screen. If you're happy with it, you can hit next and continue. Next, please. Then you transition into ownership. If your owners are people, you would select individual, and then you'd key in their social security number, name, address, entity type would dictate what job title they have, such as member or president or sole prop, something like that. And then you can add as many as you need to, or if you have individuals, but you also have a business that owns the business, such as a holding company, instead of selecting individual, you could also select business entity, and then instead of asking for individual information, it would ask for the FEIN number of that business that owns the other business, and you could put that information. Another hang-up that people have on this screen a lot is, for example, if you were registering, ABC Inc., you cannot say that ABC Inc. owns itself. It's going to expect you to have a totally different company, and if you try to use the same FEIN on this screen that you put on the second screen when you register, it'll give you a warning message, and that's why it's doing that, because it's expecting a different business to own it. Next screen, please. And then this is just more of that same screen. Next, please. And then once again, it just kind of gives you a summary of everything you've entered. If you're happy with it, you hit next. Next, please. Then it transitions into how many wages have you paid to employees. You key in that information. And then on the next screen, it'll also ask how many employees you have. And then the reason it's asking for both the wages and the employees is it plays a role in what direction we go with your registration. Because, for example, if you're a nonprofit, there are certain thresholds you have to hit for employees, which would dictate whether you would be determined to be liable or non-liable. So that's why we're asking those kind of questions. And then similarly, if you're in ag, the amount of wages that you paid may play a role in whether you would be determined to be liable or non-liable. Next, please. Then it transitions into the acquisitions page. This only applies if you've acquired an existing business. So if you have, you fill it out, and then it helps us to know that, ABC was bought out by DEF business, two different businesses, and then we can do that transaction for you. If it doesn't apply, you hit next and you move on. Next screen, please. And then this screen, it's still currently in the registration about prior registration information. This is in the process of being removed, so no matter what, you can hit no on this if you're filling out a registration and move on, because like I talked about in the beginning, if you have had an account within the last 8 quarters, the system won't allow you to re-register. But if it's been greater than 8 quarters, it will allow it, and then therefore we couldn't reopen that account anyways, so the fact that you've had an old account really doesn't matter. Next, please. And then this screen is the upload screen. It gives you the option to upload any pertinent information, documents that you might want to put with your registration. If you're willing to do it, it's helpful to just upload the documents right here rather than mailing them in, faxing them in, because then it's with the registration for whomever is going to process it. Some of the documents you might upload here would be your 501c3 letter from the IRS. There's a hyperlink on this screen where it says transfer experience rating. That's for if you did acquire an existing business, you could fill out that form and go ahead and just upload it so it's available. Another one you might fill out if you happen to be an out-of-state employer and you do the out-of-state questionnaire, you can go ahead and upload that here and just keep everything together. Next screen, please. And then you have the statement of acknowledgement, basically stating that everything you're doing is true and correct to the best of your knowledge. If you accept that, you hit submit and you're done. Next, please. And then basically it gives you a confirmation. And then at this point, you're in a holding pattern until we process your paperwork. But that user ID and password that you set up at the beginning, you can use it if you try to log in right now. It's just going to tell you that your registration is under review and it won't let you proceed. But the moment we finish processing your registration, if we establish an account for you, it'll actually let you instantaneously log in to your portal for your company. And you could look at what your tax rate is, look at any correspondence we've mailed you, go ahead and file reports if you have something due, anything like that. And it's instantaneous, so it's real handy to keep that, once you register, so then you don't have to wait for us to mail you this stuff, especially if you're out of state or farther away where it may take a few days to get your mail. And that is pretty much it.
All right. Thanks, Tony. If you guys have any questions for Tony at this time, go ahead and put them in the chat. And we'll just give him a minute. And if not, we'll move on. All right. I'm not seeing any questions now, so we'll go ahead and move on to Steve.
All right. So now we're going to discuss getting into WYUI and just navigating the system and what features you need to be aware of in order to successfully find information, file reports, and things of that nature. So once your registration is complete, you'll be able to go to our website at wyui.wyo.gov, and use the user ID and password that you established throughout your registration to access the system. So you'll enter your user ID, you'll enter your password, and then select the submit button. Then once you're into the system, it's very important to note that you want to use the links and buttons within the program to navigate. Don't use your back button to go back. Don't use it to go forward. Your forward button to go forward. Don't use enter to go forward, because the system will likely kick you out. So once you're in the system, you can access your account information. It's not readily available on the main screen, but you can access it by going to the inquiry link at the top right hand of the screen. When you select the inquiry link or tab, it will give you a drop-down box. You'll select the tax inquiry link. That will give you another drop-down box, and you'll select the account information link. Once you select that, the system will display your account information. In this example, I've had to blur out the account information, but at the top of the screen there, you'll see your account number, your entity name, the FEIN of your company, and then as you can see, the rate type. This screen will display your tax rate as well. And then, of course, the status date of when your account was set up. So if you scroll down, you'll see this. This will display your tax rate for 2024. If you enter, or if you put your mouse in the box there and scroll down, it will take you all the way back to 2021, where you can see your tax rate information. Okay, to access your account balance information, you're going to go back to the Inquiry tab, select Tax Inquiry, and then select Employer Contribution and Wage Reports. When you select that, it will take you to a screen where your account number will be pre-populated, where it's blurred out on there. To access your account balance, you're going to select the Current Account Balance link on the lower left-hand side. And once you select that link, the system will take you to your account balance screen. This screen will display any debts owed on your account. In this case, the account has a zero balance. Any credits that you have on your account. And then you scroll down, it will also show you any refunds issued and a total balance due if you do owe anything. Okay, so viewing reports that you filed in the past. So in order to access reports that you have already filed for previous quarters, you can do that by going back. Well, once again, it'll be to the inquiry link, tax inquiry, employer contribution, and wage reports. Then we'll go back to the screen where we just deviated off to see your account balance. You can enter the year that you want to see for reports all the way back to 2015, and then select contribution and wage reports. When you select that, the system will then display your contribution and wage report yearly summary screen for the year you selected. The top of the screen will look like this. Once again, it'll have your employer account number, your business name, FEIN, your tax rate. Then if you scroll down, the system will display what you have filed for that year. One thing to note, on this particular example, we do have the workers' compensation portion filled in because this is a joint account. If you do not have a joint account, you won't see any information listed under the workers' compensation section. Okay, so viewing any payments that you've made on your account, you can do that by going to the Inquiry tab, then the Tax Inquiry link, then select Employer Payments Inquiry. When you select that link, the system will take you to a screen where, once again, at the top of the screen, it will show your account information, account number, employer name, and whatnot. And then if you scroll down, it will show you all the payments that you've made on the account to date. Once again, this only does go back to the second quarter of 2015. So if you're looking for records older than that, they will not be available in this system. Okay, so filing your quarterly tax reports. In order to file your tax reports from your online account, you're going to go to the Contribution and Wage Report tab at the top of the screen. You'll select that. The drop-down box there gives you two options. We're going to select File Contribution and Wage Report. When you select that link, the system will take you to a screen where, once again, you're going to get tired of hearing me say this, but it will display your employer information at the top of the screen. And then down below there, you can see that there is a quarter available to file. If there's no quarter available to file, this section will be blank. So in order to file that, you're going to select the radio button under the select column. Then you're going to select the next link in the lower right-hand side. When you select next, the system will take you to the next screen. The system wants to know who's filing this. We need a first name, last name, the job title, the contact number, and we do prefer an email address if you have one available. If you don't have an email address or don't want to put one in there, it is entirely optional. So once you have that information filled out, you'll select the next button in the lower right-hand side of the screen. And we'll move on to reviewing your address and contact information. So on this screen, as you can see in the example, there's the physical address, tax mailing address, claims mailing address, and payroll address. You can review all four of those. If any of that information needs to change, you can select the modify link on the lower left-hand side of the screen. If everything looks good, you can select the next link on the lower right-hand side of the screen. So for this demonstration, we'll select next and move on to the next screen. So on this screen, we're asking if you paid any wages to employees, if you anticipate having any employees in the future, or if you've sold your business. You'll answer all three of those questions. For the purposes of this demonstration, we'll select yes, that we paid wages, yes, we anticipate having employees in the future, and no, we have not sold our business. If you do select that you have sold your business, the system will prompt you for additional information. So once we've filled that out, we'll select the next link in the lower right-hand side and move on to the next screen. Okay, so here we're asking how many employees you had as of the 12th of each month. So in this case, April, May, and June. You'll enter the number of employees you had on that date for all 3 months, and then select the next button in the lower right-hand corner. Okay, so here we give you a couple options for filing your employee wage reports. Method A is basically a direct entry into our system, and then method B is a spreadsheet that you can fill out and then upload separately. So we're going to go through both of these options so you can get a good idea of what this looks like. So for method A, okay, so yep, you'll select method A, then we'll move on to the next screen. And this screen just gives some basic information on how to enter employees, how to delete employees, and we'll go through that here as we work our way through this. Now, one thing to note is if you have filed previously, the employee information will be pre-populated for you in the system. So once you do get into the system, you'll have to delete any employees that no longer work for you, add any employees that work for you, but any employees who work for you the previous quarter will still be, their information will still be in the system for this quarter. Okay, so for each employee, you're going to enter this information that's displayed here. In the system, it's going to be all the way across the screen. We had to kind of break it up for this presentation, but you are going to need the employee's social security number, their first name and last name. You'll need the amount of tips that they earned, the total wages excluding tips, whether or not the employee earned wages in more than one state. Now, in this case, we are filing a joint wage report. So we do want to indicate that the type that we're filing is going to be a B, which means we're filing for both unemployment and workers' compensation. If we're filing for unemployment only, the system will display a U, and if you're filing for workers' compensation only, the system will display a W, or will allow you the option to select a W. That same goes with the NAICS or class code. If you're filing jointly, the system will provide a code there for you. If you're not filing jointly, there will be no information available. Then you'll need the new hire date for your employees. This only pertains to new employees hired within the last 2 quarters. If the employee has been with you for years, you don't need to worry about putting that information in the system. And then, of course, we need the total hours worked for the quarter. Okay, so method B. When you go back to our main screen, and you have the option to select method B, to get the spreadsheet that you'll need to complete in order to upload the information successfully, you'll click on this question mark at the end of the method B description there. Once you click on that, the system will offer you several different options. I generally advise people to choose the Excel file with header or the Excel without header. Don't choose the CSV files because they tend to be problematic in our system. So once you select in this case, we'll select the Excel with header, and the system then the file will download to your computer. Once you access that file, you can enter your employee information here. Once again, you'll need the employee social security number, first name and last name, the total wages, the type of reports being filed. In this case, it looks like it's unemployment only. The class code or NAICS code if you are filing jointly, the new hire date, total hours. And on this one, the variation is that it's asking you whether the individual is a corporate officer or not. If they are, you put a Y in there for yes. If they're not, select N for no. And then the year-to-date wages at the end there. And once you have that information entered, you can go back into our system. You'll select the option B, or method B, for filing. The system will display this screen here, and you're going to choose File. Once you choose that link, you can go into your system where you've saved your information and upload or select that file for upload. And when the file is ready for upload, it will show you, can we go back one here? When the file is ready for upload, it will show you the file name next to the choose file link. Then once you have a file selected, you'll select submit and we'll move on to the next screen. This screen will tell you the name of the file once again, the number of employees in the file, the number of employees processed, and the total wages processed. In this case, once again, it was a unemployment only report, so we don't have anything available for the workers' compensation wages processed. You'll review this information. If everything looks good, you'll select next. And then it'll move us on to the next screen. So what the system does is it basically takes all that information and it puts it into the wage report format that we just reviewed for inputting manually. This basically does it all for you. So once all the information is in there, you can review it for accuracy. I always encourage everyone to double and triple check everything. And once you're satisfied with the information on the screen, you'll scroll down to the bottom and select all wages complete. And it will move us on to the next screen. Okay, so this screen displays all the information you just put into your wage report. It breaks it down for your contribution report. So in this case, at the top of the screen, it does list the number of employees that you entered for the being employed as of the 12th of each month of the quarter. Then it displays the wages that were that are on your wage report. It does display the contribution rate, and the amount owed. So in this case, this is a joint report. So it does have a workers' compensation component down below, where it takes the amount of wages paid and then calculates the amount of workers' compensation owed. If you don't have, or if you're filing only for unemployment, that information will not be present on the screen. So once you've reviewed that, you can select the next button, or the submit button at the bottom of the screen. Okay, so once that's done, it takes you to the option to make a payment. There's two options available here. You can either make a payment online, or you can print out a voucher to send in with a check. So you'll select the Make Online Payment / Make Payment Voucher, Print Payment Voucher button, and the system will take us on to the next screen. So on this screen, it will display the information of what's due based on the report and the information that you filed. At the top of the screen there, you can see the unemployment portion of the report and what's due there. In this case, it was 40 cents due. And then down below is the workers' compensation portion. In order to make a payment, you'll select the checkbox under the pay column, and the system will automatically populate the information in the total field for that. Now, if you do have more due in more than one quarter, the system will list all of the quarters available. You can choose to pay one quarter, or you can choose to pay all quarters, just depending on what your situation is. Once you've selected the amount you want to pay for UI, you can go down to the workers' comp section, and you'll have to enter the amount that you want to pay for workers' compensation. Once you've got that information in the system, down below you will check the box to either make an ACH debit payment either by checking account or savings account, or payment by mail. Once you've made your selection, we can select next. In this first example, we'll select payment by mail, and we'll select next. Now you'll see this screen. You'll want to select the print voucher link in the middle of the screen there. When you select that, the system will give you a voucher that you can print off. We can go to the next screen here. And as you can see, this voucher does have all of the information that you need on it. It has your account name, your account number, where to send the check to, who to make the check payable to, and the amounts owed. Now, if you are sending in a payment by check, or if you filed online, you're sending in a payment by check, I always encourage employers to send this with their check. That way we actually know where the money needs to go. If we're left guessing, we may be reaching out to you to say, what are we doing? Okay, so we're going to backtrack here. We're going to go back to the payment screen, and we're going to, instead of payment by mail, we're going to select ACH debit checking account. Now, this will look the same for either checking or savings accounts. So once you've selected ACH debit checking account, you'll select next. Now on this screen, you're going to enter your banking information. The system is going to ask you for your bank name, the account holder's name, the routing number. It's going to ask you for twice, and then same with the bank account number. It's going to ask you for that twice as well. It will ask you whether it's personal or corporate account, and whether or not you want the system to save your banking information. Once you've filled out that section, go ahead and select next at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Okay, so here the system is going to ask you to select what bank you want to make the payment from. In this case, we've only got one option. If you do have several options stored in the system will display those options, and you can select whichever one you want to use. In this case, we're going to select the bank option there by clicking on the radio button under the select column. Then you'll enter the payment amount that you want to submit, and then you can also pick a payment date. What this does is it allows you to make your payment or submit your payment, say on like today 8/20, but not have the system draw the payment from your account until 8/30. if you do so choose. So once you've entered all that information, make sure it's all correct and select next. Okay, so the system will give you this screen. This is just confirmation of what you entered, what you're paying, the bank account or your banking information. Review that and select submit. And then it will provide this confirmation screen once again, and you're done. So I generally encourage people to print this screen out if you need paper copies for your records, and then you can select the home link. All right, so once you've filed your reports, on occasion we know reports kind of get goofed up every now and again, and they need amended or fixed. So this can happen with social security numbers, incorrect payment information, incorrect employee information, whatever the case may be. So in order to do that, you're going to go back to the main screen. We'll go back to the contribution and wage reports link or tab. And in the drop-down box, you'll select the adjust tax and wage report. And here the system's going to ask you what quarter you're wanting to amend. So in this case, we'll select quarter 2 of 2024. Then the report type is always going to be original. If the system offers you any other option, always select original. Then you'll select search. So in order to amend this, you're going to have to select the radio button under the select column. And then you'll choose an option for the reason for the amendment. If you click that drop-down box, you'll see a long list of options to include, incorrect social security numbers, incorrect wages, reported in incorrect state, things of that nature. If none of those quite fit the issue, you can select other, and then put an explanation in the text box there. Once you've got this information entered, you can select the next button at the bottom right of the screen. Now, once again, the system is going to ask for who's making these changes. So we're looking for first name, last name, job title, phone number, and once again, email address is optional. Once you have that information entered, select the next button. And then this screen is going to look very much like the original screen from the contribution wage report when you originally filed. You can go through here and change whatever you need to. If you do need to add employees, you can select the add blank rows at the top of the screen. Once you have all your information amended, you'll scroll to the bottom of the screen. And there it's going to have you confirm how many employees you employed on the 12th of each month of the quarter. And then the system will require you to enter a reason why the amendment was made. Once you've got all that information ready to go, you can select the submit button on the lower right-hand side. Now the system is going to ask you to review your contribution report. Now that we've adjusted the wage report, you'll want to select next to view the contribution information. Okay, so here it's going to show you what was originally posted to the account, and then it's going to show you the new information that's available on the account. In this case, the employees added, there's quite a big difference there. So you'll review that information, and if that's all correct, you'll select next. Then once again on the next screen, it's going to have you confirm all the information that you entered. If everything looks good, you'll select submit, and the system will take your amendment. Then once again, if you do end up owing money after that amendment, you can choose to make an online payment. You can do this either by going through the prompts the system will provide, or if you do need to leave the program and come back, you can select the online payment link at the top of the screen and follow that route. Just a note, you can also, or a side note, you can also do that if you need a payment voucher instead of going. We see a lot of employers that go through the amended report path in order to get to a payment voucher. If you need a payment voucher, you can go straight to the online payment. And if you owe anything to unemployment, then the system will provide a voucher for you there. So once you're done with that, you can select the home link and it will take you back to the beginning. And do we have any questions?
Right. So Steve, we had one question while you were talking about payments, and I'm not sure if it's specific to payments or just in general, but the question is, what if you have a third-party payroll provider filing for the company?
So that's kind of a loaded question. It really depends on the form. There's several different formats that your third party can be filing through. They can be filing through third party access that you grant them to your account that will follow much the same process as here. Your third party may use a bulk upload format that they have access to as a payroll provider. They can upload a great deal of information straight into the system, or they can send in reports by paper. So the bulk upload is pretty technical in the format, so it's pretty difficult to navigate unless you have unless your third party is doing that for you. But those are the options that your third party has.
Great, thank you. And then we just had a comment, not so much a question, just that I like that we are able to save the data that we enter, so thank you. However, it would be great if we did not need to enter the required on the screen where we say who is entering or submitting the data. If we save and exit, this information needs to be added every time.
Yeah, and that's mostly because the system doesn't anticipate that the same person will be filing over and over. So that's really why we ask for that.
And does anyone else have any other questions? If you do, please drop them in the chat or the Q&A function. We'll give everyone some time to enter in that your details. And for either Steve or Tony, you can go ahead and put in your questions at this time. Also, we have some contact information if you guys have questions for UI account information or UI employer help. There's a phone number there and also an email address and website. You can expect a follow-up email with a link to the presentation, recording, and handouts. Those should be sent out within the next few days. Just checking to see what any other questions. I'm sorry. Also, this is a reminder to please complete the 5-question feedback survey that is in the chat. This helps us improve our future questions, and it should only take a few minutes of your time. And while you're completing the survey, we'll be posting another link, which will allow you to register for our next presentation. September is National Suicide Prevention Month, and this September, we are honored to bring you Talk Saves Lives. It's an introduction to suicide prevention. This will be on September 10th at 11 a.m. By starting the conversation and providing support and directing help to those who need it, we can help prevent suicides and save lives. So we'll hope that you click on the link and register to join us for this very important presentation. I'm not seeing any other questions at this time.
Trisha, we just got one more come in.
Oh, did we? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the Q&A, yeah.
Thank you. I am from a payroll service, and we currently file one at a time at the time. Are there specifications for bulk filing, anticipating any updates to those specifications?
There are. They can be found on the DWS website under the unemployment. You'll be looking for the link that has the ICESA file information.
We'll just give another minute for any other questions. All right. So I'm not seeing any other questions. If you guys do have questions, please reach out to either Steve or Tony, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up this presentation. Thank you guys all. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Appreciate it.